You've got to be almost insane to your craft. Not a lot of people can understand that. That's why I don't know about nothing else. I do not pay attention to nothing else. There was games of football on yesterday, there was rugby, there was this, there was that. And like normal society is like, let's engage in this. And I can't do it. I just don't, people are talking to me and in my head I'm counting something. I'm counting up a number or I'm knee deep in a sequence on the mat or on the feet. That's my life, sequences and numbers, nothing else.
Conor McGregor is fascinating. A few months back, I read his coach's autobiography, and I've seen every documentary out there about him, and this guy is so unique. So today we're breaking down 7 tactics Conor used to go from a nobody to UFC superstar, and how we can apply them in everyday life.
Conor McGregor, ladies and gentlemen! Thank you all very much! We will see you tomorrow night!
If you're new here, my name is Ben, and this is where I make the videos that I wish existed about great warriors and leaders, breaking down the non-obvious things that they did to win. I'm not a historian or a paid analyst, but I study these people non-stop, and I train jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai as well. Anyways, enough of that. Let's talk about one of the most immediately striking things about Conor, which is his verbal game.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
He's charismatic and energetic, but it's even more than that. He has all these clean phrases he'll use that'll just stick out in your mind. It's to the point where I wonder if he rehearses or practices these.
A clean sweep for the Irish. I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
The best jiu-jitsu coach in the world, John Danaher, says there's 3 ways for a fighter to be interesting. And there are parallels for everyday life here too. He says the first is to be the most skilled. So in MMA, this is having the best record or being undefeated. Second is to be the most entertaining to listen to. So these are the people who are super charismatic or have the best press conferences. And third is to be the most entertaining to watch. When it comes to fighting, this usually means the most violent. The most popular fighters usually have at least 2 of these. Conor is certainly entertaining to listen to. He's got that one on lock.
They want you to give us a quick count to 10, both of you gentlemen, if you don't mind, just if you wouldn't mind counting to 10.
Nate can only count to 5.
He's also very skilled, and his knockout power makes his fights very exciting to watch.
Oh no! He slapped him!
So he arguably has all 3. So lesson number 1 is develop your verbal skills to complement your other more technical skills. This will make you a double or even triple threat. And as always, here's a list of people who have combined verbal ability and communication with other technical skills to become superstars. There's another element that distinctly sets Conor apart, and that is his self-belief. Even when he's very young, he has an extreme amount of self-confidence.
Stripping that all back to the start of your career, a man with a dream, training in the gym day in, day out. If somebody said to you, you'll have or you'll be as successful as you are now, what would you had said back then?
I believe you. That's what I would have said, because I did believe.
And some of that is inborn, but I think it's less than people make it out to be. It comes from a few different places. The first is training. Confidence without ability is stupid, that's just arrogance. But ability without confidence leads to bitterness, so you need both.
You know, confidence grows through work ethic, through seeing what's happening around you, and that's it. I put the work in, and it's paying off.
And Conor definitely has both. He spends a huge amount of time in the gym training. Second is faking it until you make it.
So you gotta fake it to make it. You know, I used to drive a broke down banger of a car, and in my head that was a Ferrari. So I was able to almost, just believe it into reality.
And third is visualization.
If you can see it here, and you have the courage enough to speak it, it will happen.
Now, if you're like me and you hear visualization, you think of some woo-woo stuff or like a TikTok trend or something like that. But a while back, I read this study about visualization, and they said one of the biggest mistakes people make with it is visualizing the end goal, the outcome. So that's, the vision board of what you want to have. And that makes you feel like you already have the thing, but without putting in any effort to get there. So it's very easy to get demoralized when you don't immediately get the thing. Instead, what the study found was way more effective was visualizing the process you'll go through to get to that outcome. So visualize training every day, or how you'll react on those days when you don't want to get out of bed and go work on that thing. What are you gonna do then? Rehearse that in your mind, and that makes it more likely you'll do those things. So lesson number 2 is put in the work to build competency, which leads to confidence, and then visualize the process by which you'll get there. Conor has a public persona as a bit of a villain, this big ego, trash-talking guy who'll say whatever he needs to get in someone's head.
Who the f*** is that guy?
And he's done things that I disagree with. But I also think that there's enough critics on the internet already, and I don't really want to be another. I'd rather look at the good things someone's done that we can learn from. But given all that, there's another thing that really stuck out to me as I learned more about him. There's this scene in a documentary where he's serving community service at a church because of all the stuff that happened with Khabib. And, well, I'll just show it to you.
I'm coming across mad stuff in this church, eh? Just like things like just things on the walls and things everywhere. Look at this, listen to this one. Walk in a manner worthy of the calling with which you have been called. Peace, power, respect, dignity, love.
And so you see there, even as he's doing his tasks, he can't help but read the quotes on the wall and in the brochures and pull lessons from them. He's insatiably curious. And not just about fighting, about mindset, about physical therapy, about business, all the stuff that he ended up becoming successful at. That is no accident. Lesson 3 is never let your ego get so big that you think there's no more to learn. Lesson 4 is all about what motivates Conor. Again, this is another thing that surprised me because he can come off as a bit egotistical. But when you look deeper, what he cares most about is taking care of his family, supporting his teammates, and inspiring others.
I'm doing it for the love of movement, and I'm also doing it because I recognize that it will secure my family's future. So why not take full advantage? Something that I love can actually secure my family's future and make us live a good life for the rest of our days, you know what I mean?
In other words, he's fighting for something bigger than himself. And maybe you can say that he's just dressing that up for the cameras, sure. But to me, it really does seem like at his core, he has a kind. So lesson 4 is aim at something bigger than yourself. I'm not saying that wanting to make a lot of money is bad. Conor is certainly motivated by that. But if that's your entire motivation, you have to battle with selfishness every day. A purpose bigger than yourself keeps you going even on your worst days. The 5th lesson that we can learn from Conor is the same thing he talks about in that clip at the beginning of this video.
To get to the pinnacle, it needs to be like that. It needs to be no outsiders. It needs to be, you need to have your team and your focus, and that's it. I don't need friends that aren't involved in this game or that aren't on the same path, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't make sense.
This idea of single-minded focus is something that I've ignored for a long time, but the evidence for its benefits are pretty overwhelming. There's a bunch of books that have been written about this. The biggest one is probably The One Thing by Gary Keller. There's another one called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And one of my favorite essays of all time is this one called The Top Idea in Your Mind by Paul Graham. And the general idea is that there's a lot of subconscious processing that happens when you let your mind wander. And if you're fully focused on one thing, then all that subconscious processing goes towards the one thing and helps you get better at it. But I want to caveat that this doesn't mean you should immediately pick one thing right this second to focus on for the next 10 years. For most people, it takes a while to figure out what they want to focus on. And that's a whole nother journey that you have to go through. So lesson 5 is once you find the thing you love, go 100% all in. McGregor will talk a lot of trash in the lead up to a fight, but at the end of the day, he treats his job like a professional. He said one of his goals was to make a lot of money, but he doesn't do this by tricking or cheating other people.
Let me tell you what Conor McGregor never did. We never walked in a room and said, Conor, this guy just fell out. We want you to fight this guy. And he was like, no way, I'm not taking this risk. I'm at this point in my career where my money, my this, my that. He was like, it, let's do it. You know, he'd always say, let's do it. The other thing that Conor McGregor never did, no matter how big he was or whatever it was, and we were heading into a fight, oh, Conor, this guy just fell out. Aldo fell out. We were looking for another. Yeah, I'll do it, but I'm going to need another fucking 200,000. I'm going to need another $1 million. Conor McGregor never did that.
He understands the severity of the fight game, and he comes to it with a level of respect. So lesson 6 is treat your calling like a professional with respect. There's this quote that I love from one of my favorite books of all time. It's called On Writing by Stephen King. He's talking about writing, but it applies to any endeavor that you care about. And he says, you can approach the act of writing with nervousness, excitement, hopefulness, or even despair. You can come to the act with your fists clenched and your eyes narrowed, ready to kick ass and take down names. You can come to it because you want a girl to marry you or because you want to change the world. come to it anyway, but lightly. Let me say it again. You must not come lightly to the blank page. And if there's one thing that Conor does not do, it's come lightly. All right, so the last lesson here is all about how Conor handles defeat. At this level, most people are terrified of defeat. Some fighters get beat and never recover. It mentally ruins them for the rest of their career. And while obviously no one likes losing, Conor seems to handle it pretty well. There's two key takeaways here. The first is he doesn't make excuses or pretend like it was an unfair loss. And for context, this clip is from after his loss to Khabib, when Khabib jumped into the crowd and attacked some of his teammates, which would be an easy thing to complain about.
I mean, after the shot you took when the kid jumped in.
Fuck about that.
Huh?
I don't give a box about that. Those handbags.
Yeah. I didn't see Khabib jumping over that. I didn't see that coming.
Who cares about that? That's handbags. And it goes B, and that's that. Just be where it matters, and that's it. End off. Who cares, man? I need all the shit.
And second, he always seeks to learn from his losses.
We have all won and we have all lost. Just get on with it. Look to learn from it. You know, the day you stop trying to learn is the day you start losing. You know what I mean? So I'm always going to learn, regardless of the result. You know what I mean? Win or lose, I will take something from it all.
In fact, that's why his coach's book is called Win or Learn. Because one of the key principles at their gym is that there's no losing, there's only learning. They say every loss can teach you something if you have the humility to look for it. So lesson 7 is have the humility to look your losses in the face and learn from them. All right, as a summary, here are the 7 lessons. That's it for this week. I'll see you next time.